said it went instantly.
It's not my fan, is it?
No, it's definitely Darth Vader.
Someone's breathing heavily.
Darth Vader's with us.
Just watch for the particular person who's going quietly redder and redder.
Right, okay, so we are overdue. Welcome to our watchers. We are looking at the Cortex episode 36, book 2, Empire in Flames, 1152, episode 18 of book 2. The episode is called Faith. It is the final episode of the season. It is the final episode of book 2. We last saw our group in the Underway, the Dwarven realm underneath of the city of the White Wolf of Middenheim, in the middle province of the Empire. Deep in the Fauschlag, in the mountain itself, they had entered to track down the void gate that Framling was able to sense. Upon entering the darkened tunnels, they found that initially there was little to no disturbance, and then you could see that the tunnels themselves had seen passage, but you couldn't quite understand or see what you couldn't work out what had been moving through the area. Leaf heard something in the darkness behind, called for light. When Framling sent light down there, you found wall to wall these blind creatures with huge fang-filled mouths, clawed hands, barbed tails that were climbing over each other. Big things. These big creatures. They seem to be all skinned sort of mammals of some kind. Truly horrifying. At which point Arnung called for more light and let's get together. Let's close our ranks. Leaf let out a bit of a as he backed up quickly. At which point you all turn in time to see Renyir, full Tom Cruising it, down the corridor and dive headlong into the darkness.
I'm home.
There was no noises, but there was a sound of metal scraping on stone. Walking down the corridor, there was no sign of Renyir, but you did find his dagger. Unperturbed, you continued on.
Well.
He's gone to the office. Kids these days.
You'd already come across a small shrine, and nothing was indicative of a clear target beyond these creatures that were all around. You were aware they were ahead of you and they were behind, and they were reacting to the light. They were being kept at bay. You entered a large chamber. The chamber disappeared into darkness all around you. Framling was able to translate ancient Dawi script around the doorway, which said Grungni, show us the way. He translated it and spoke it, and these ancient braziers lit up, giving you the full sight of the horror around you. The chamber itself seemed to be some kind of birthing chamber. There was no longer just a simple ancient dwarven central meeting place in the Fauschlag, but membrane thick and pulsating with blood that caused it to create tunnels throughout the entire area. Walking through it, you were able to see these creatures flitting to and from, getting caught in the light, these braziers themselves, the light that Framling was producing. And when they did, their skin burst. Those caught and damaged too much were exploding into these pools of blood and gristle and bone. Much to your horror, you found that their bone structure seemed to be made up of human bones, femurs, hands, elongated, mutated skulls. The deeper you went into this horrific, pulsating chamber that was warm, as if you were inside a body of a large creature, you came across a very wide brass bowl. Arcing over it was an impossibly built archway. It shouldn't have been able to stand under its own design and weight. The length and height of it was all wrong. While there, you found in the centre of this bowl what appeared to be a pod of some kind that was potentially birthing something. There was something within it moving. Leaf and Arnung moved into the bowl, this brass bowl, that gave it made them feel uneasy, made them feel nauseous, based on the sign of the script, this language, this scroll that they could see that they'd never seen before, but it set their teeth on edge and It made them feel ill, and it really wanted to drive them away, but they persevered to investigate what was in the centre of this bowl. Framling called out, "It's Renyir." They immediately cut this sack away from him and pulled him out. He spent about 10-15 minutes in a fetal position trying to recover. You had to pull thick globules of this slime and pus from his eyes, and he had to pull it away from his mouth. He had to pull it away from his eyes. His armour, the leather armour, that was reinforced armour, showed signs of corrosiveness. His skin was raw, but nothing that on the surface you were able to perceive as an injury. What this meant, you haven't had a chance to consider, as this empty archway suddenly started to fill with this black, swirling mass of energy of clouds, punctured by streaks of purple light. And then something stepped through. Framling, recognising the danger that this shadow represented, called out to you, "Back away. This is not something you can fight." And then he was struck a horrendous blow that sent him crashing back through these membrane walls and archways. Arnung, caught by surprise, called out to Framling and attracted the attention of this shadow that became a man, a tall man, not necessarily heavily built, but of a similar sort of look, an ancient look that Framling is the only person up until this point that you'd seen. Thick blue tattoo and scroll over every inch of his skin, his hair pulled back into a top knot, that same ageless look upon the eyes. Without an indication of reaching Arnung, there was a good distance between them. Arnung was raised from the ground and slammed back into the floor, causing him to call out in pain. Leif and Renyir immediately stepped to the left and right, hiding behind the membranes, moving quickly. The creature kept on going forward as Framling came back into the fray, hovering in a nimbus of light. He called out to the creature in challenge, and it did respond. Hovering, it mocked Framling as a false power, as a betrayer. Framling recognised this creature for who it was and called back, at which point Leif appeared from behind, having moved quickly and with great effect behind it. As this creature was drawn upon powers, Framling was also drawn upon powers. The air literally crackled between them. Leif pounced. Taking a higher step up off one of the membrane walls, he plunged his spear through its back and out its chest. It fell to the ground, its concentration broken. He rolled, he drew the ancient Victoria blade and struck down towards its neck, but at the last moment it vanished, out of sight. It hadn't gone far. As Framling turned to confront it, Renyir's blade struck it in the eye, quickly followed by its second blade. Arnung had been picked up at this point. His armour and chest plate had been crushed into his body. He was able to take a step forward and throw his Victoria blade, catching it in its chest, just as Framling unleashed the pent-up rage, the pent-up power that he'd been building, striking it firmly into its head, calling upon Tal to destroy the creature, to cast it back into the shadows. It boiled the skin, meat and tendons from the skull, and the creature fell lifeless to the floor. At which point, everyone's eyes were drawn to the person standing clearly in this portal. This dark coalescence of energy had finally formed. Behind it, you could see white pillars and open gardens, archways, clearly an imperial city. And standing there, in white robes, hair white and silver streaked, was another man. Framling again recognised him. He called out its name, Akylios. He challenged Akylios. He threatened, he told, he instructed, "I am coming for you, and the power of Tal will destroy you and your master." Unperturbed, almost casually, Akylios said, I will kill all of your champions, and I will leave you for the last." And he turned to walk away, but just as he did, he said, "Just a taste of the power. Renyir, kill Framling." Renyir span on the ball of his foot. He threw his dagger. It would have struck true, but exploded on contact with this nimbus of light that was still surrounding Framling. He raised back his other hand to throw yet another dagger, and then stopped and paused. That moment of madness, whatever caused him to do such, receded. Framling moved towards him, just to make sure, to take hold of the 15-year-old's wrist so he couldn't cast another dagger. as this Akylios turned away contemptuously to walk away from out of sight. Without thought, Renyir spun once more, and with deadly accuracy threw the dagger. It vanished from sight, to impact heavily into Renyir's chest just as Framling reached him. Renyir was pitched back. Renyir, shocked, looked down, unaware of where this attack came from, what had happened. Why would Renyir suddenly fall back in such a way as he had been reaching for his wrist? And looked down to see the boy's dagger hilt deep, piercing through his sternum, penetrating the young slight lad's chest. That's where we ended. That was how it ended. This episode, as it begins, as the scene opens, Arnung and Leaf are still over the slain creature's body. Renyir is lying backwards, mortally injured, fatally injured, in Framling's arms. He's gasping for breath. Blood is clearly frothing at his neck, on his lips. He is a small build. He is a slightly built man. The dagger itself, at a slight angle, is clearly caught. It's a low end of chest area, in the lower sternum. There's a silence, except for this pulsating membranes, this blood that you can hear rushing all around you. Most of it has been badly burnt or crisped, but there is still plenty of it left. There is still concern as the lights, these braziers, as you watch, are being extinguished. The darkness is coming back. The light, the only light that is clearly still strong, is surrounding Framling.
What has happened here? Framling. What has happened to the boy?
His actions unfortunately had consequences that he didn't think would happen. His attack on Akylios seems to have been reflected back on himself. I think the boy's had it. Looking at this looks like an injury that he may not recover from. Can you tend to him while I consider what we do about this membrane? We are inside, and with that, I send out my little balls of light to try and maintain some sort of semblance of an arc of light around us, so that we're not completely enveloped in the darkness.
I will take Renyir, make him comfortable, hold him in my arms, rest his head.
You can feel him shuddering for breath. He has not gone long. You see that he's pale. He's obviously in considerable agony.
What did you do this time, boy? Why won't you listen? Is it so difficult? Is this the end you desired? Did I not make it clear enough that I had plans for you?
I wasn't expecting that.
Whatever happens now will happen for the best. You should rest. Close your eyes.
Arnung, if you've as Framling concentrates. Oh, sorry. Nevin, are you still with us?
Yeah.
Okay, your camera's frozen.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Okay. I was thinking that is the most deepest concentration of his face. He hasn't blinked in 20 minutes.
This is how much I'm in this scene.
While Arnung concentrates on pushing back the light, you see that the creatures...
Framling.
Sorry.
No.
What I say, Arnung, yeah, Framling. You see that the creatures are normally still visible. These lights are spots of light,
Yeah.
and therefore they're able to, as the lights are moving out, they're not a perfect blanket in this chamber. In a corridor, it's different; they're more compacted. But in this chamber, you can see that there are gaps. There's only so much you can produce. And as he's concentrating on pushing this light out, there are dark patches where the creatures still move away from and explode without any explanation. The creatures are acting different than the way they did before. So with Framling concentrating on such a thing, Leaf and Arnung, you know that this is clearly you've seen the wounds like this before. You've seen Arnung covered in them, scarred. He's still alive, but people don't survive this. The strength his will to live might keep him going for some time. He can be moved, but he'll be he's in agony. The fact that he's not screaming, you can't help but almost feel the compassion for the strength of the lad as he's holding this. I mean, the dagger's still embedded heavily in his chest. He's of such a slight build, it's almost hard not to imagine that it hasn't actually managed to come out the back of him. There is no healing, no surgeon that could save the lad's life. It's only a matter of time, and some you've seen last for hours, but in this current situation, this environment of war and death that you're in, your senses are highly alert, and you look into the boy, and on one side is he could linger for some time. It didn't obviously hit his heart, otherwise he'd have died almost instantaneously, unaware himself that it was happening. But in this case, it's there's damaged. There'd be internal bleeding. There is no coming back from this. But you can't stay either. You can see Framling is noticeably paler. There is a sweat and sheen upon his brow. The efforts of what's been going on have had an effect, though he has not brought your attention to it. It's only a matter of time before these lights fail, unless he is able to do something that you're unaware of. You can see a clear weakening in Framling.
Framling, we must leave.
Yes, I think you're right. The boy, can he be carried?
I have the
He doesn't
boy.
He doesn't deserve to be left down here.
I'll pick up. Renyir. Effortlessly. Can't even say the word.
That's how much.
Yeah. With ease.
Excellent.
Are you heading? Well, as you pick Renyir up, Renyir can't help but let out a groan.
Spit out some blood.
I suppose keeping the knife in is the only thing that's actually keeping him alive. It's wedged that deep. Are you going deeper into this warren, or are you retreating?
Retreating. Let's get out of here. Wait a minute. Just a second. The gate itself is still formed.
The swirling mass has closed, but the physical gate is still standing.
Right. Okay. Sorry, I completely. The purpose we're down here is to destroy that gate. The gate is still standing. We've done nothing but entertain ourselves for brief moments, and this thing needs to be brought down. Does it look like it's obviously it's misshapen? It's architecturally inappropriate.
Absolutely.
But does it look as though it's got a keystone or anything like that that could be attacked?
Yes. Again, though, it's almost like a warping of standard architecture. It shouldn't be able to stand. There's no way that this thing, by man, would maintain its position. It would have collapsed partway through building. The supports are far too wide. The tip far too long. It doesn't make any sense, but it does
Is this
look freakily. But it's basically a mutated version of an archway.
right? And it's a substantial stonework,
Correct. Yes.
not the sort of thing that you're going to hit with a lump of something and it's going to come down.
Nothing that you guys are carrying.
Right. And the big bowl that was transforming the lad.
Bowl. Yeah, Renyir.
Yeah, Renyir. Oh, God.
It's there. Look, it's beside his head.
Oh yeah. How substantial is that? Is it
Oh,
something
it's
that
huge.
could be turned over?
No,
It's
no.
not something that could be rocked
No,
by the three of us.
No, absolutely not. No, it's
Right,
massive. It's the biggest single piece of brass, the biggest bowl you've ever seen.
Right. Okay.
From the scale, would you be able to climb on it and kick bits out?
You wouldn't be. Well, it's like I say, as you're well aware, when archers come together, it's their weight. You know, even in some places, you don't even need mortar. It's the weight that holds it together. This doesn't, because of the way that it's spread out. It should have collapsed in on itself. It doesn't make sense. Climbing on it, you don't know what it'll do, but you wouldn't be able. You don't see it as something that you'd be able to kick bits out of. No, but climbing up onto it, you don't know what effect that would have, regardless. Bear
Worth
in
a
mind
shot.
that you haven't actually made contact with it. It shouldn't be standing anyway. But you haven't touched it. You thought about it earlier, before the battle began, Leaf, but you didn't actually try to strike it anyway.
I'd still like to climb it though.
Okay.
So you say for what's check its stability.
Yep. Okay. You effortlessly, is it a sort of like, just walk up to it and then start hand and holds, or are you going to do something acrobatic?
No, I'm just going to climb it.
Yep.
Give it a bit of a shake, roughly climb it. See if there's anything moving. A weak spot I'm looking for.
Yep. As Leaf. Very quickly before this goes any further, are you climbing all the way to the top, or are you just sort of like about a foot up? And I mean,
No,
you're not concerned.
I'll get up there.
You're not concerned. It's not high enough that if you fell, you're pretty sure that beyond a little bit of bruising, it's not going to be anything serious to you. You're capable of taking the shock. It's not 25 foot tall. Onto solid, sort of concrete. You're comfortable that even at the top, if it suddenly gave, you'd be able to roll with it.
Am I at the top yet, or?
So as you're climbing up, you are seeing the messages coming through, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Right. As you're climbing up, all of you become aware of a light with no source. It's as if the room itself begins to glow all around you, in every position, all at once. Shadows fleetingly, they vanish. There's no centre to this light. There's no place that you can look at. You're just becoming aware that the entire chamber is just lighting up. The braziers are still going out. There's only a handful left. You can see Framling's light is becoming subsumed by this. You've got no impression that he's turned them, he's whisked them away, but this light becomes so much that you start, all of you, even Renyir in his condition, you're starting to squint. Everything is becoming so bright, so literally, the shining with this radiance.
I'm going to give it a poke with my Vactori blade. See if it does out.
Okay.
Hey, Framling.
Yes.
This thing feels like it's breathing. Feels alive.
It's the gate.
I'm just going to poke up my sword, see what happens, yeah?
Yeah, and then get
Then
down
I'll
from there.
Jump down, yeah, of course. Don't have to tell me twice.
Breathing gate.
Is this a gentle cutting, or is it like a,
It's
you know,
yeah, it's just a tap with the point, yeah, just to see if there's any reaction before I jump down.
somewhat to your shock, it begins to bleed.
Hey, Framling,
Mm.
it's bleeding.
This thing. And is there any damage to your Victory blade by the poke? Is it like chipping into stone?
Doesn't look like it. I reckon I should jump down and we should have a bit of a slash at it, like.
I think we should just start attacking this thing.
Yes. If it bleeds, it dies.
That's
So
Let
I
us
put
get
down the
first,
boy.
though, Arnung.
I put down the boy and start hacking at it with both my Victoria blades simultaneously.
I think my one-track friend is onto it somewhere there. Attack. Pull out my the axe.
Yeah, I've attacked the other foundation.
As you strike at the blade, it is almost to both of you. As you do so, you know what it's like to thrust and slash and hit meat, and it feels very much as similar to that. Your blades hack into it where they do, with the ferocity that you put into it. It rends and cuts. With it, blood starts to pour from these gashes, these cuts. The whole thing seems to almost shake, shiver, almost like the hindquarters of a horse flicking away flies. You see it quivering with each slash. It feels pain, clearly. The blood is red, it is thick, it is viscous, and it starts pouring out of these open wounds. The light around you, however, is become to the point where you're shielding yourself. You're getting close. The blade is obviously dual-edged and a stabbing blade. You're right up against the stone, but you can barely see. This light is just all over the place. It is just far too much, and within a few stabbing wounds, you are effectively having to close your eyes. And even with your eyes closed, you could see the blood vessels on the inside of your eyelids. This red glowing light is so uncomfortable. It's not causing as much pain. There's no heat associated with it, but you're having to put your hand over your eyes, and even then, you could see the silhouette through the eyelids of your hand. You are unable to cause sufficient block of this light. You could continue to stab, knowing you're that close to these large blocks of this thing, but you're no longer able. You're not in distress. You're not in pain. You're going to be in distress. You're not in physical distress. You're not in pain distress, but you are unable to open your eyes.
I'm going to continue and let Framling deal with that. Unless Renyir feels better, eh?
You start feeling a pressure building up. It starts at the base of the neck. You can feel the pressure in your ears. Feels like it's in your nose and your sinuses by your eyes. You can feel it. It's not deeply uncomfortable, but where it wasn't before, now it's suddenly there. You become aware of it. You always feel like you need to just sort of equalise, to blow on your nose and sort of pop your ears, sort of when you've come down from your mountains and you come down, it's quick, and that that pressurisation is of all. You got it when you first came up the causeway, into Marienburg. You're aware of what this feeling's like, but of course, there's no indication around you that you are rising or lowering to give you it.
I'll move away.
You are at this point staggering blind. Your feet are slipping in this brass bowl that is now filled with blood. You consciously, instinctively realizing that at any given moment that you could slip through on this pool of blood on these brass plates, on this brass bowl, without knowing where you're going. You're going instinctively by memory.
I'm heading towards Framling.
You go back. You head in that direction instinctively, navigating towards where you last saw him.
Yeah.
It does flit through your mind, perhaps sheathing your blade just in case you slip and lose it.
Mm-hmm.
You take that extra bit of caution, realizing that the footing underneath you is becoming slippy. You are wading through blood at this point.
Framling,
Yes.
I head towards his voice. Are we doing the right thing here?
unknown. This
Can
is,
you feel this?
I can sense what's going on. Yes. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm trying to work with some entities that are making this room a little bright and uncomfortable.
I haven't stopped, by the way, just so we're clear. I'm pushing through any unease, uncomfortableness this brightness is causing, and I'm fighting blind. I know where my target is. As long as I can feel it, I'm going to keep going.
Does it subside as I move away? Or is it just the same?
Framling? That would be directed at you.
Sorry, I was communing. Say that again. Sorry, Leaf.
I was actually asking Kane.
You wouldn't be able to know.
Right. I'll go back to doing what I was then if it's no different.
I'll turn and look at Renyir. Renyir,
Yes.
are you? What are you doing? You need to rest and save what strength you've got left.
I will do.
The light has got to such a degree for all three of you that and this pressure that you're barely holding it together without.
It's my fans. They just looked at me.
Ask your fans if they want to make us coffee.
Yeah, that's why I said thank you.
The light gets to such a point, the pressure is building to such a degree that you're barely holding it on. It's taking every moment, every ounce of your willpower to to curl up in a ball. Instinctively, obviously, in this case, you're feeling that this is a potential reaction to what's going on. Framling hasn't told you other. Sorry, 1 second. That's what we do.
Apparently. I'll make do with Schweppes. Cortex brought to you by
You're just jealous
Schweppes.
because me and Kane have fans that make us coffee.
I'm in the middle of describing something that's like they don't know what's
Terrifying.
going on, and terrifying at the same time. People are dying and bleeding out, and there's horrible things going on, and then suddenly Talbot goes, "It's like, the fuck are you doing?"
Just breaks the
Weirdo.
moment.
And he goes, "It's my fans, freak." I hope he's not doing that in game. Thank you.
Every stab.
Right. It's taken every part of your instinct. I mean, you are now getting to the point where there's an even ringing in your ears, and Framling's voice is clear. But Arnung, you realise that you don't hear what Framling is answering to. You can't hear anybody else. You just hear Framling's voice, calm and clear. When he speaks, it soothes you. It's almost like a balm. It doesn't take away from the fact that this pressure is building up in your ears and your head, and the fact that you can't open your eyes, and you are now so thoroughly disorientated that you have no idea what's going on, and you're barely holding on. You're not even sure that you can feel your sword strikes. You could not even guarantee that you are sure you feel the blood that washes over you with each strike. But Framling's voice is a calmness. It's that light in the storm, in the darkness.
I'll call out to Autumn, come back to me. Come back to the voice.
I hear you, Framling. I hear you. To stop and turn towards. I'll follow the voice since I clearly can't see. Call to me, Framling.
I'm over here. Just keep walking. I'm but a few paces away. Oh, left a bit. No, right, that's it.
Oh. Where's the boy? How's the boy? Is he still with us?
He is, and I want you to just come to my voice until you can just reach out your hand, and I'll hold you.
I reach out my hand.
You reach out and you pull him clear of the bull. The contact with Framling, you hear the ringing starts to recede. The pressure starts to diminish. The light starts, that imperceptible sort of darkening, that lack of that blazing light. You're still not capable of opening your eyes. It's still far too bright, but you feel you perceptibly are aware that all of these effects are receding.
I'll call out, my lord, have you come to rid us of this aberration, or have you come to take one your gentle bosom?
A voice that sounds as if it calls out through 1,000 throats. It's deep. It's terrifying. It is a voice of purest power. You've never heard anything even remotely like this, except sometimes in your darkest, most fearful dreams. And I can't do that voice.
Oh!
Hello! Mark, your description is shit!
Comes out as Manx Scully. Hey,
Alright, calm down, Framling!
don't you know who I am?
I have come I've come to give you a choice. The light recedes faster than it came. You're able, without any injury, without any harm, to open your eyes. Arnung, you're kneeling beside Framling, who's standing, looking over your shoulder. Leaf, you're still standing in the bull. The blood is at shin level. Renyir, you're lying outside the bull. All of you, Arnung turning, you see a tall, dark-robed, shrouded figure. You feel the power emanating from him. You feel that to move, to gain its attention, is abhorrent to your very sense of your instinct to live. You can sense a power come from this that is insurmountable, something that you cannot, something that the Voradrim that you fought before didn't have a look in. There is no visible face in the cowl. It is just darkness absolute. He is taller than Arnung by another half a length. Much thinner of build.
We sheath the blades.
You sheathe the blades?
Mm-hmm.
He steps close to Renyir. Though you can't hear the footfalls, you can feel them. It feels like the stones, the very chamber around you, vibrates with each heavy footfall. Your mortal senses are not picking up what you're looking at. You are not, beyond your eyes, you're not hearing him move. And then you'll be aware that the voice itself is not actually being heard, it's more felt. You note Renyir no longer has the dagger in his chest, but it is bleeding profusely. It's as if it's been drawn, and then you see it's in his hand. You can see it's coated in blood. He's absolutely coated in blood, and the wound is clearly open, and his heart is pumping his life force out. You have a choice, child. You are soon from my realm and my judgment. But there is somebody here. He seems, he just casts his gaze around the room, that has been interfering with you, Framling, for far too long, and I grow tired of it. He looks directly at Arnung. Everyone that lives will come to my gate, be they mortal or god. I will judge them all. One amongst you has been kept from my realm. One is now due. I will have one of them in payment. The necklace around your neck, Arnung, you feel the need to take it off. It suddenly becomes an all-invasive need to remove it.
I
You can
remove
fight
it.
it if you wish.
Oh well, no. Well, if I can fight it,
can,
I
yeah.
would choose to fight it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you meant it became an overwhelming need that I can't fight it. Sorry.
No,
So if I can't
we
fight
all
it,
have a choice.
yeah. Sorry, if I have a choice, then yes, I will definitely try and fight this with every ounce of my ability.
You're still crouching over Renyir.
Yeah.
Based on the blood loss, Renyir should be dead now. He clearly isn't.
I'm facing the dark figure that we all know who it is. Well, I think we all suspect who it is. And say, my lord, I have need of Arnhem. I have need in this fight. I need him for just a bit longer, and he will come to you in his designated time, as we all will, as I will. But at the moment, I have need of him. And if there is a choice, then this young man has served Tal well. He served humanity well. And he needs rest. He's injured. He's desperately tired. But I have need of this old man.
Arnung has had 10 times the lives of anyone that he has ever impacted on. He has sent many, some judged fairly, but he has sent many to my realm. He should have died many years ago as mortals look upon it, but he was interfered with. And I don't care why. I don't look to the reasons for it. He looks at Leaf. The death doer that sits amongst you calmly, emotionlessly. Will you give yourself?
What, in exchange for Renyir?
No. Will you give yourself?
Well, that's down to Framling, isn't it?
We all have a choice. Framling has his own need to walk this world, and he has been given it. His very life force that was granted to him. He is what this world needs. And he looks directly at you, Framling, but perhaps for not as long as you think. I have the child and the old man. Both should be with me now. And yet you, Leaf. You walk in the shadows. You dispatch a justice that you see, but never once have you put any thought as an offering towards me.
An offering. I don't even know what you mean.
I'm so sorry.
Who are you?
I'm sorry for ruining that moment. just no, the mighty more. Just like I don't know what you're talking about, mate.
God of the dead.
Look at me. You talking to me?
I thought Leaf was just thinking on it, and he was going to respond with something so great and profound, and you just say, "I don't know what you mean, mate."
I'm being
Cup
flippant.
of coffee.
I'm fronting because I'm scared, right?
False bravadoing against the god of the dead.
I'll outlive you.
It's gentle though.
Who are you? All you can do is kill us once. I can do this all fucking day, mate. So basically you say, I don't know what you mean.
As in-
in those words.
I'm
I mean,
still
if he's the
leaning
god
over.
of the dead and I'm producing lots of bodies, surely the offerings is me kind of me confusion. You know what I mean?
I'm still leaning over Renyir.
Yeah, you
I
are.
mean,
I think that if
does
it's...
he want flowers?
I don't know if it's Leaf or Ivor that's confused, so I'll help you out here. You have...
What do you want, flowers? What?
You have made a point of following Tal,
Yeah.
and the people that you've killed, just because you kill people, that's not an offering no more. Murder is not his thing.
Ah. But natural selection.
You could never say that you're part of the natural selection.
Predator.
Okay, we'll get back to the game.
Right.
So he says, I don't know what you mean. And Moore turns back again to Renyir. That slight shuffling of the robe. Just a turning of the head. Then the choice is made.
There has to be some other way. I mean no disrespect. I just live for my promise, and that is it. You have to understand this. I do not mean to disrespect you or anything else. I'm here for one purpose, and that is for my promise. I care little for the gods and their games. I'm here, I serve a purpose, I will die. I will. Until my purpose is through and done, I need to live. There has to be another way. Tell me, there has to be another way.
Arnung. The choice is made. You will live to complete your promise. Fulfill your promise. Bye, Nevin. First death.
Just-
Poof! Nevin's gone. Holy shit! Framling!
Wait a second. That wasn't supposed to happen. He's supposed to stay.
Choice is made. Everyone's like,
honestly-
what? Framling explodes. Holy shit!
Meanwhile, Renyir's moonwalking past. This is good.
That's
Hey,
like even that's even better than the Game of Thrones deaths. It's like no one saw that coming.
Yeah, Leaf. Who are you? Oh, Leaf's definitely going. Arnung's like, I don't care for the gods. Framling's like, okay. Oh shit. So the demigod exploded. Choice is made. You will live to fulfill your promise. He stands, straightens up, reaches down, lays his hand on Renyir's chest. I will be coming for you before the sun sets on the next mortal day. Complete the task with which you were born. Steps back. You feel a coldness rise up around you. The darkness seems to descend for a moment, and he's gone. You feel the pressure abate, then the calmness that was there before returns. Behind you, the archway begins to... the blood that's coming from it begins to dry out. You see the stones, like skin, become dry. Dust starts to fall from its surface. Within moments, it crumbles in onto itself.
I look down at Renyir. Is he still with us?
The wound is still there. It is still open, but it's no longer bleeding. It's not scabbed up. It's not bandaged. It's not... you know, there's an open chest wound, but the blood is no longer pouring out.
get infected.
He's still breathing, though. He's still alive.
Yep.
For
He's
now.
got colour in his skin. He's got, he hasn't got sort of deathly white. Hasn't gone blue at lips. He appears to be fine, except for the clear, open, fatal wound visible in his chest.
Which I keep looking at.
This was not the plan. This is not part of the plan, boy.
Plans change.
Why? Why couldn't you just listen? You're just like him. Foolish.
Well, I only have till daybreak. So, what's next?
Hey, Framling,
Mm.
what would be a suitable offering to Mo?
A suitable offering to Mo would be to cleanse his temple, to rid of those false priests who have been sending souls to this thing for God knows how many years. It would also please mightily Tal, because they are they're also an affront to Tal's cause and his ethos. So I would suggest that's the best way to offer up your deeds.
Doesn't he know
To
we're
Mo.
going to do that anyway?
Yeah, there's doing it
Well,
and doing it in faith.
That's exactly right. There's doing it, and then there's doing it with a single-mindedness to offer that in supplication to Mo, in his name, not in
Okay.
Tal's name.
I can do that.
I think you
If you-
the judge.
If you take this night's work and dedicate this to Mo, then it becomes an offering to Mo.
Ah,
And at this point, I suspect his brother Tal wouldn't object to a little bit of dedication going his brother's way.
I suppose I'm quite
It's a-
single-minded.
And that
Think-
served Tal very well.
I think once we are done, we need to pay a visit to your temple. The learning has become somewhat
Twisted?
Divergent rather than twisted, but we'll look into that once we deal with those false priests of Mo. Let's get out of here. We don't need to be here anymore. That gate is no longer acting as a gate. And who knows what this commotion and ruckus has brought us. We need to get towards that, towards the Temple of Mo. Leaf, do you know how we can get from here down there?
What, through the tunnels?
Yeah. How long have we been down here, roughly? Any way of sensing?
No
Hours?
idea. I think we'll have to come out. I don't think these tunnels take rid of the Temple of Mo.
Right. Okay. Well, let's regroup quickly somewhere where we can decide the best way to plan an assault on that temple. We also have to understand that there are other forces, some mundane, in the city that will also be looking for us after the fire. So as low as possible recognition factor for us, if we can get somewhere quickly.
You
And
know
then
where
quickly-
we're entered. You know where we're entered, though, right? We came through the Moss Park,
Yeah.
so we're quite close by.
We came
We'd have
down
to make our
there.
way back to the sewers. Do you know what I mean? We'd have to double back.
No, we just need to go back because we came down. There was 2 more passages left and
Yeah.
right.
So we'll have
So
to get
what
back to the sewers. We're leaving this part of the tunnels. Are you all right to travel, Renyir?
Yeah, should be.
Yeah, no, it looks okay.
I've got a new sheath for my knife.
It fits perfect.
That's just
He'll be the
Draw.
perfect person. He'll be the perfect person to when we go to see these false proofs of more. Just we can wander in, going, "What?
Can you fix this?
Yeah,
I've,
So
I've,
how
Probably
much
gonna
does this cost?
I've had a bit of an accident.
I tripped. It stings a bit.
Yeah, as Leaf describes, reminds you, you've been down the tunnels. You'd estimate best you can about an hour. As Leaf reminds you that you originally made your way across the surface of the city. You got to the south of the Moors Park, looked upon its walls and its gardens. You could see the small temple, functioning temple above. You then lifted a mound cover and you dropped down. There were then sewers, main sewers moving left and right, west and east. However, there was a branch and there was a small, outlet that you were capable of getting through, and that led you to the wide entrance to the underway. Remember, the underway is beneath the sewers, and so the return trip clearly would be is the way you came, and that will put you solidly underneath the Moors Park, where there is a sewer entrance north and south of the park itself. The temple being in the northeast area of the gardens.
Northeast.
So if you look on the map itself, in the northwest of the overall map, you will see a grey area. This grey area is the Moors Park. It's the largest grey area here, and there is a black dot. That is the temple. To the south is a main causeway. To the north is another main causeway. You came into the south. You travelled under the sewers through this branch underneath the Moors Park, where you then found an entrance to the underway. So you will come out in the sewers in this location, and you did find that you could go north or south, and that will lead you to the surface. And you then will be outside the Moors Park itself. And then, like I say, the temple and the entrance is in the northeast of the Moors Park.
Right. Okay. So we can, at this time of day, night, it'd be well tracked, or
the north would be a lot less populated. The south is, you've all been there now enough to know that the south barely quietens during the night. It becomes more of a party environment, that sort of thing. The north will be a lot more quiet at this point in night, but of course you will have the barracks and potential risk of the militia.
So plan to get in. Plan to get in. Looking at an Arnum and Leaf. Plan to get in. Do we just use Renyir's current situation as an obvious? Do we carry him, slumped between your arms,
dead,
and just take him to the more? Do we just do it something as simple as that? Clearly, our friend is mortally injured and is in need of help or release and ushering into Moore's realm, and use that as a way of getting in.
I think you're forgetting, Framling, that they are aware who we are, what we are.
Nope, we've lost Ivan.
Bye! Nope. He's like, I'm not getting this.
Yeah.
You're on your own.
It's too much for tonight.
I mocked a god. Now I'm going to mock his corrupted. Nah, I'm not doing it.
I didn't even mock him.
You turn round and Leaf's not there anymore.
Yeah. Now, actually, I've decided you're not the boss of me.
Fun you, yeah, holes.
Hey, I wasn't mocking him. I just don't bow and scrape.
Speak to the hand, bitch.
Why not?
It's not my nature,
I think it's everyone's nature when the god of the dead appears.
To actually care.
That is some serious kahunas.
Talk the hand, because I ain't listening.
It doesn't frighten very easily, though,
I don't have
these
Apparently not.
intimidating tactics all his life, so...
The GM is ferociously typing messages. You are terrified? For fuck's sake. No, I'm not.
Oh, that has to be the one of the funniest things. Just totally visualizing more the presence of more and how frightening it is, and he just casually is like, "Sorry, mate, I don't know what you mean."
Yeah. Says who? Yeah.
What are you getting at? I haven't got time for this shit, man. Just tell us what you want.
Yeah. Got all the dead. To a penny. One of those down the market.
So, as I was saying,
I feel like a cat that's been bringing mice home and living on the step for years just to be told that the wrong type of mice.
Yeah. The wrong stairs.
I was going to say,
Oh.
it's next door looking at you going, wanker.
I thought Mo got his jollies as a byproduct of my job.
That's Cain. That's an entirely different god.
Oh.
They live next door to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. More is there, is the big, far more powerful to the god of murder, who hides behind walls when More walks past.
And Kane's like, yeah, my man. Where's my man Leaf? Huh?
He spent these years giving me all this fruit time. Woo! What? Who are you? Shit! I thought it was Fatal, and I was doing a little bit of side work for More. Nope. Neither one of those all-powerful gods at all are getting anything out of this. Cain will miss you.
Briefly.
When you spend the rest of eternity in purgatory.
I'll be a good boy, man.
Crap!
I'll sort it out. I'll score brownie points.
Don't know what I mean.
More, can I pass on to your realm? Don't know what you mean, fella.
You're not in the books, you can't get in.
Meet these four fellas from the north. Go and hang out with them for a while.
Oh, no, can I borrow your amulet after you're done with it?
Right.
Live forever.
Duck and weave.
yeah, exactly. Thanks, Mo. This was a secret.
Was. So they are aware of us. They're aware of me.
No,
they
they're
know
aware
of
of
you.
us.
They chased all of you.
Bugger.
So we just be going, "Hi, friends. We have an injured friend. Get him."
What are you doing? We're just weary travellers. We rest ourselves by your fire.
Sorry, we made a classical mistake of not realizing this has actually been in game terms that long.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's
Been weeks, but it's only been a day.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
You won't recognise me. Oh, look at her. Is that tattooed bloke? How did they know?
It's been months.
It's been an hour.
I've just caught my breath from chasing you down the street. And bear in mind that they walked outside to have a load of street urchins start throwing water at them hours ago for no apparent reason. Well, that's never happened before. Load of homeless kids came over and threw water balloons at me. What the hell?
So, let's scratch that great plan of mine. I'm not hearing any good ideas from you two.
Anywhere in? Is there any other way in to the temple, through the sewers? Leaf, Renyir.
I'm sure there's a sewer exit entrance, but we could just go through the front door and just tough it out. They won't be expecting work.
But they'll be aware of us quite rapidly.
Yeah, front door's good.
Well, not if we're sneaky. I mean, we could go in. I could go in and have a poke around.
And then what? Call for us? Or are you going to go and then just do all the work yourself?
I could go in stabby. Or if it gets too much, I'll give you a shout. I can't even get in with more,
Right, I know you're keen to dedicate everything that you do now to more. I'm taking this shit for you, more.
Hey, he barely had to tell us. I've got no problem.
Barely had to tell it. Just had to write it down and draw your
Barely
picture.
had to explain himself.
You need to worship me? I'm not getting it. What exactly do you want to do? You need to worship me. Can you do it through mime? Is there a play I've seen recently? Can you get in? Do you think you can get in without being seen?
Master of disguise and stealth, mate. What
How many? We were chased by about half a dozen armored knights
Four,
or more.
I think it
Four.
was about
four guided robes.
Right. 4 doesn't seem enough. How many priests typically would work at I don't know how many would work at this Temple of Mo Arnung. How? Oh, actually, Leaf, you probably know how many tend to work at this temple, including acolytes. You know.
Don't really hang around there much. I mean, I could guess, but I don't think I've got any firm numbers. I mean, we are killing them all just to kind of like get ahead of all this. If I happen to find myself in there, everyone's dying, right?
Everyone.
That's all right then. So I'll tell you when I get back.
You think you can do this by yourself?
Well, it depends on what time it is, really. Once I assess the time, if they're in bed, yeah.
I prefer the stealth approach. Now, you're telling me there's no entrance through the sewers into the temple?
No.
You're telling me the only way in is through the front door? Is that
Pretty
what
much.
you're telling me?
Yes, I'm telling you, the front door is the way to go. But not an assault. I could take Renyir and say he's being stabbed and I think he's going to die, and he could act a bit.
We've been through this. They know who we are. If we're going in, if we're going in, there's only one way to do this. It will not be
piecemeal.
It'll be.
Well, I'll go in first. I mean, rather than actually having kind of like a 4-man assault, it's better to send in kind of like possibly me and Renyir, get ourselves in there, so you've at least got a flanking option. I mean, what, you walk into a temple and they're going to go, right, you can't be here, it's a temple, we should go in. Get in there as deep as we can, and then kind of like, if it kicks off, at least we're in a position to back you up from the behind, rather than kind of like all of us facing off against armored knight type dudes, you know? Trap them in the back, man. Arnung, haven't you got like loads of men in the city?
I do.
Couldn't we just like throw a wall of men at them then?
No.
Yeah, they just close the doors and that's it.
Well,
my men do not partake in my business.
My men are crap.
Take the front door.
All right.
Kill the guards at the front, and then you got a breach in there. And then you work your way from there.
Yeah, they can't close the door if they're not there.
Let's get to the temple. Let's see what we're dealing with.
Let's case it first.
We need to move with haste and speed.
Yes.
We need to do it for another reason.
All right.
Is that we've forgotten, put it out of our mind that John Aru is arriving in the city.
And he's Akylios. That just arrived?
No. This John Aru's more powerful than the creature we've just defeated. He is Akylios' right-hand man, and he's arriving for me. So we need to get in there, and we need to get in there quick.
Why didn't he just take the portal?
It's broken.
No, I mean, this John Aru, why is he travelling conventionally if he can travel through portals?
Because I believe that the portal is actually is for dedicating the souls of all of the people who are going through Mo to the northern gods. Akylios was just showing his power as a way of trying to cow me. It's not something that he'd want to do in any way.
Are we doing this as a horse? Are we talking and walking?
As we're walking.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine then.
No. Been at the gate long time.
Right. Let's. We're just gonna have to go in there and go in there hard.
Well, once we get there, we'll see what we're dealing with once we are there, because if there's any guards, so yeah, once we get there, we'll have a look from a distance for now. Is there anyone outside? Any priests that we can see? Anyone manning the doors, the gates?
You apparently it's very windy. You make your way up through the tunnel itself. It have been.
It is where I am.
Yeah. Your hair is positively blowing in the wind. You make your way up through the tunnels itself, quickly retracing your steps until you make your way out of the underway into the sewers. Above you is obviously the Moors Park, and there is the way you came, which will take you to the south main sewer causeway, or to the north. The north would be your best bet, and is also closer to the temple entrance. Are you wishing to go that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quickest
Sounds about right.
possible, yeah.
Continuing on your way up the northern tunnel itself, you can see that, like before, there's obviously been some usage of said tunnel, but there's no indication of it currently being used beyond yourselves. You get beneath the sewer grate, one of you climbing up, lifting the grate to be as best you can, to be without giving anything away. And the street is quiet.
Right.
Rising up quickly.
Yeah.
Yep.
You climb out as fast as you can, eyes alert, looking in all directions. There are a few people, but you manage to get out and close the sewer itself without being seen. Not many people like to stare in the direction of the Moors Park. The walls themselves are very close, 6 foot away. It's a 6-foot wall with a spiked fence. It's designed to keep people out. Not everybody is terrified of the priests or more, when they could get a hold of bodies, and bodies still fetch a fair price. The spires of the small yet tall temple to Moor are visible. You'd have to walk around to get to the main gate, but clearly there are ways and means of getting over this fence if needs be. You're all capable of climbing over the fence.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yep.
Rather than taking the front gate.
It's not a
What-
fortified thing.
What time of the day did you say it was?
By now it'll be close to midnight.
Right. Okay, so it's pretty dark.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Slipping over the fence, you're in the well-tended gardens of the Moors Park, well-tended graves, each with their own. It's a prime real estate, a place of only the person with the highest income, the nobility, the aristocracy. You see the tended graves all around you, and look towards the temple. You are unable to see any movement in the gardens itself, and they are expansive. They're an entire block unto themselves, and it's difficult. The pathways between these graves are thin. Are you being respectful of the graves, or just trampling across them, kicking over flowers? Or are you trying to stick within these little black pebbled sort of pathways between them?
I'll walk quickly along the pathways.
Don't worry. This temple needs to be rededicated to more. These flowers are not being any respect to anyone. This is all going to the northern gods. There's a mission here. Done.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, I wouldn't care. I'm just going straight, yeah. Stealth is priority.
Renyir and Leaf the First Over are obviously being respectful of the dead. When you say that Framling and Arnung was already kicking over graves on his way. Seems to be going
running backwards to push him over. Yeah. Missed that one.
We've got to be respectful of the dead. No, it needs to be Arnung.
Yeah.
You approach the back of the temple itself. There are some candle light, or the light that seems to flicker from the heavy reinforced doors at the back of the building. At this angle, the way you're coming in from this end, anyway, you can see one. There are some thin arched windows. They are barred, and you can see the light from within the chambers itself. You remember that the temple is quite a small. You didn't get to walk around the entire place, but if you remember, it's got 6 chambers across a central area. The shrine to Mo and his altar are at the back, where you're approaching from, and also because of the way that they were coming in and out the rooms, there are clearly corridors that run the outer walls. Yeah, but you haven't got an idea of the direct where you're coming in from. You don't know what you're gonna come into. If you come into a room, you can end up walking in. You don't know what you're gonna do when you come into this. But it's the building itself is not ornate. It is not. Everything about it is practical. In which case, based on the fact that the people come in through the front, and you remember it had the black and the white, indicative of the life and death. They come in through the main corridor. There were the chambers where the bodies were stored. The last couple of rooms were where they were left in state. You then go to an altar. If they've got corridors on either side, which they they were allowing the priests to come in and out of the rooms. But if a procession would come through here and they'd go to the altar and they would have their mass, and based on the size of the building, you're pretty sure as you look at this door, that's going to open straight onto the altar. That the procession, after it's been on the altar, after the mass is done, it would go out through this door and into the gardens itself. There is, unlike the other churches, this Temple to Morn, like many of them, is the most basic concept of constructs. It has a purpose, and that is to give the living the chance to take the dead into Mor's realm physically when the soul has been dealt with by the priests. So, with that in mind, there is a possibility that you could walk into a corridor, you could walk into the altar room, or you could actually go into an area where they're all just sitting there. So you're making your way to this back door. There is another one directly opposite it on the other side that you won't be able to see, but you know it exists, and then there'll be the main entrance. It's a long building as opposed to wide.
So only Joe, use your sneaky skills to find out whether we're going straight into a crowded room or whether we've got some breathing space. But know this: no one lives.
Oh yeah, that was the plan. Renyir, are you going as well?
I'm already out the door.
Yeah, I mean coming in.
I'm already stabbing someone.
Oh.
First off to go 2 different routes.
Yeah, but at least we'll get an idea what's being there. I mean, really, can I get a time check on what time of day it is?
Midnight.
Midnight. Oh yeah. See if anyone's asleep first. They're the easiest.
Worshippers of a dark god.
After puppies.
Yeah. Try to go for the fighting men first, Oh, and the boss. That's that guy's name. We visited him a while ago.
Albrecht Zimmerman, the High Priest.
I pick the lock on the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, crouches down. Silently works. Renyir, you feel the very subtle click within your hand, just the gentlest of tugs. You deliberately release the lock slowly, so it doesn't give off a loud click that can echo throughout the vaulted chamber on the other side.
Before I push it open, you said there's lights outside.
No, inside. They were faintly glowing through the windows.
All right, then I'll push it open slowly.
Okay. You pull down on the heavy brass handle.
I peer through the crack.
You see a corridor, a door's just visible to the left of the corridor, but as far as you can see, it opens up into a corridor. You cannot see the far end.
No guards.
Nothing. You both perch, waiting, listening for that subtle scuff of a cloth, of a booted heel, even a breath that somebody's trying to hold or slow. Things that you guys have mastered, and there is no instinctive feeling of somebody there.
All right, let's go.
Push the door a little bit further and go in.
The door opens as quietly as it can be. Even to your ears, it feels like it sort of screeches through the night, and that everybody across the city must be able to hear it. Your heartbeat thundering in your ears. But in yourselves, you're calm. The heartbeat is your adrenaline getting ready to fight, as opposed to genuine fear. You step into the corridor. You see it continues on the entire length of the building to windows at the far end that look out to the main street opposite. And obviously you're at the other end. There are 4 doors equally spaced throughout the entire along the entire far wall.
Let's get to work then.
Yeah, you pick all them locks.
Where are me and Arnung, we're still outside?
We're still outside, yeah.
Yeah, so Renyir slips in first, Leaf following after. Arnung, they disappear into the darkness.
How
Arnung.
far is the main entrance? It's just round to the front.
The length of the building you're after, is that what you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
It's the whole building, and it's about 60 metres length.
Ah, so
While he's picking the locks, I'll inventory the rooms I can get to. See if there's anyone in there.
Using your
And-
ability... Go on.
Just turning to Arnhem. John Aru's in there. Obviously, these two aren't here, so they don't. They've already doing their thing. He's a being of exceptional power. If you get any opportunity to take him out, do so. But his focus will be on me.
okay.
Just be aware that he's in there.
The door that we were closest to, is that the one that Leaf went through?
If that's the first door that he went, if he went straight
Yeah.
to the first door and opened it, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll slip in behind.
Okay. Leaf, are you going through the same sort of, deathly silent, using all your skills to move without?
Yeah.
Or you haven't got to the point of.
No,
let's just do this.
I'm looking to assassinate here. I'm not looking for a fight. Like, I'm looking to find some people kind of unaware and trying to take them out viciously and quietly, like incapacitate and then kill.
Understood. You open the first door that you're at. It isn't locked. It is far more used and opens quietly from within. Quietly without any strain. Inside, you see that the first thing that becomes visible is the altar. You've been here before, and only a couple of days back, and you know that the statue of Mor will be behind the altar. You can see that the corridor the main central corridor will lead off to the left. 2 men are kneeling at the altar, heads bowed.
Spear through the back of the one on the right.
So you're coming at them. So they're where
I'm
my
behind
hand
them,
is.
yeah.
No, you're looking at them directly on sideways. They're there praying over the altar, and you've opened the door and went, oh. Yeah.
Can I squeak right and go low? Are there any pews or anything?
Like we said, no, there isn't. The temple wall has nothing to sit in.
Low.
You see them. Heartbeat, assess, and move. Or waiting to see that door. It gets people killed. So you see them. And
there's no hesitation.
You slide to the left. They are in prayer, and they seemingly do not react to you whatsoever. They're breathing. They are. There's nothing about this that's giving you off a sense of something wrong or untoward. There's no instinct kicking in. You slip in behind them. You get to the left wall. You're starting to get behind them. You realise that there's a big open, wide corridor that will lead to the front door. You stood in this corridor just yesterday. You're going to appear around the corner. Make sure that you wouldn't make the mistake of going up behind these guys when their back is to this long corridor. You're going to want to look to the left. As you do so, you can see that the corridor extends all the way to the end, where the black and white columned doorway is. There is nobody visible, but the door itself is completely and totally shattered. like a giant has crushed a child's plaything. These big, heavy, metal cast doors have been sundered, stripped by a force far beyond your imagination. They have been shredded. Big rents in the steel have torn it to tatters. There is also huge blow marks where something incredibly heavy, something like the size of a besieging battle ram, is crushed into it simultaneously. Whatever came through here went through it seamlessly, without strain. The doors themselves are bent, battered, and stripped, torn to pieces. They've been ripped from the stone, which you know to be granite. It's just completely destroyed. Renyir, you've got 3 doors ahead of you. As Leaf was heading to that door, you hear the door behind you. You're constantly looking backwards and forwards. You see him open the door when you had reached the very first door itself. There's another 2 doors ahead of you before it gets to the end of the building. Would you continue on, or would you be looking at that door?
Oh, the door he's gone through.
No, he's going through one door. You passed the first door because you said you were continuing down the corridor.
Yeah.
He's gone to the first door. As he's opening it, you obviously haven't paused. You would have easily have reached the second door in the corridor. Were you continuing on down the corridor, or was that what door were you targeting, if at all?
I'd go for the next door, so it would be the one I've just come across.
Okay. Again, you come to that door. The temple itself, its outer doors will definitely be locked, but its interior doors going into the staff areas, which is clearly what you're in, are not going to be locked. They're capable of being locked, but you could test and you realise it's not. And again, this door is clearly in constant use and has been repaired. You open the door, and standing in the room, you can see the man that was introduced to you as Albrecht Zimmerman, the old man. He's looking directly at you, and he has a look of absolute terror upon his face, and you become aware of something standing with his back to the wall. You've opened the door just enough to look in, and you can see him, and he's looking there.
Yeah.
And there's just some perceptible movement that means you realise that out of sight, somebody is standing there. You cannot see him, but Albrecht's face is drawn, and it is a look of absolute terror.
Oh, so he's looking at the thing, not me.
Correct.
Yeah. Keep the door as it is. Just listening.
Okay. While you see Arnung, you've moved in. Framling is given warning.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see Leaf move to the door as Renyir moves to the next door? Only a couple of heartbeats between Leaf opening his door does Renyir open his. Renyir's paused, and you see Leaf quickly slip in to the room, that door, whereas Renyir's obviously waiting where he is. There's no indication, there's no warning given. Both are silent, well beyond your ability to do so. But this is a clear, clean environment. There is no ornaments, there is no litter. You're not walking on twigs, so you are equally silent. Sorry. Were you following Leaf or Renyir? What was your plan?
I was... First point was just to get in and assess the situation. I'm fully confident that Leaf's and Renier's ability, so I was just surveying the area and situation, turn to Framling while I have them, and obviously Leaf's no longer inside, but Renyir is. Framling, do you sense anything? Is he here?
He's here. He's in this building somewhere.
You're frozen again.
I was going to say, and I've frozen.
The last time you froze, did it just correct itself, or did you do something?
No, I had to go into the settings and change it back on again.
Yeah.
For some reason. Yeah.
So yeah, he's here. He's in this building.
I look at Renyir.
Renier's got his back to you.
Oh, he goes back to us. Okay. Yeah. Who's the closest from where I'm standing? The sort of like the natural path. Is it Leaf or Renyir?
Leaf's out of sight. He's disappeared into the room silently. Renyir is
Yeah,
visible.
I'm talking about the room itself.
Oh, yeah,
How
be the one that Leaf entered.
Oh, the one that Leaf entered.
Yeah.
So obviously the natural sort of path would be to approach Leaf's door.
Okay. Renyir continues to crouch at his door. You get to the door. Leaf is obviously half your size and not wearing broken plate mail. Leaf, you get to the door, the corridor. You've looked up and down. Movement catches your eye, and you see the hulking, metal-encrusted shape of Arnung approaching the doorway.
Can he see me?
No, not that he's given any evidence of. The risk immediately you assess is too high. That you have no idea of his skills, but plate mail is not the best thing to have, and though he might be far beyond your, he might be highly skilled in moving quietly and well aware of his shape and size. Your experience as a man that big wearing plate mail is not going to be hidden for long. You feel the spurring to act.
Yeah. I execute the two praying figures.
As you get to the door, Arnung, you have to open it a little bit more to be able to see in, to see what's going on. You do so quietly. There is a sudden movement. You hear the unmistakable sound of blades meeting flesh, the sound of gurgle, a gentle slumping on the other side of the door. Another, and then that gentle, very imperceptible, very quiet. We heard twice in quick succession.
And carry on through. I gesture to Framling to hold his position. And I'll move on through.
Right.
You, as you open the door, you see the altar that you saw when you first visited during the day. You see two quite large men. There are candles on the altar, that sort of thing. You see two very large built men in robes lying amongst a spreading pool of blood. Leaf is cleaning his blade off.
Oh. Was sort of.
I gesture to Arnhem to be quiet as I move forward to the next available room.
From where you are at the main corridor, looking towards the main, the front door, there are 3 doors on the left, 3 on the right, but across the altar there are also 2 visible doors as well. There is a huge selection to choose from. Framling, have you entered the room?
I'll take the ones on the left.
Yes.
You move to the corridor to the left, the main corridor.
Yeah. Three doors on the left.
So the first door itself, you recognise this corridor. This is the corridor where you came in. You recognise that the door immediately to your left, very close to you, is the room that you were taken into when you originally spoke to Albrecht.
Ooh, that'll do.
The door directly opposite. So you're going. They're the ones on the left. But you realise, of course, that is the opposite door to the one that Renyir was heading towards the last time you saw him. As you get your geographical bearings, Renyir is either in the room or is at the door and hasn't give warning to why he's not in the room.
I'll crack the door open and just kind of scope it out as quietly as I can.
Framling, you've followed Arnung into the room. Arnung's obviously taken more of a defensive stance around the altar, capable of seeing all doors and exits, entrances, exits. Have you entered this main altar room?
Yeah, I gesture to Framling. Say it's safe to come in.
Right, I'll follow.
Okay. You from there you obviously see the 2 dead priests at the front of the altar. You see Leaf step away from the altar itself, or he's already a couple of steps away when you've entered the room. He's gone towards another door. He's crouching down. You can see he's approaching a door that's very close to the left. You see the main corridor, of course, and the devastated, heavily armoured doors. at the other end. Something of great force having ripped into them without any effort, tearing them completely out of their stone moorings.
So I move up close behind Leaf as quietly as I can. Let him get on. So you said, has he opened the door yet? Did you say you opened the door? Sorry.
That's what he's doing. He's approaching the door.
Okay.
He's reaching for it.
I don't say anything. He understands. I mean, I approach the door and wait quietly.
As your hand reaches the handle of the door, you realise that it isn't locked. You quietly lower the handle. You begin to open the door, and something screams and hits. You hear a sound of pain. Somebody shouts in absolute agony, and the door suddenly gets pushed back with a resounding bang back. You know, as you're opening like that, and you hear something hits the other side. The pain, the scream of anguish, is clearly somebody in instant and in agony.
Is that door open then? Is it
No.
Closed.
just slam shut?
Yeah, the door slams shut. As it does so, you hear this moment. It echoes. It breaks. All the sounds is broken. Somebody goes, "Ah!" And Leaf was just opening the door. He just opened it. The door, and just boom, something hits it. You feel the weight of something slamming against the door.
I turn my attention to monitoring for sound coming from the other rooms.
You turn, and you feel you are hit. You don't see, you don't hear anything. There was just this loud explosion of rock and stone. You feel it slam into you, pummeling you against the door and the wall opposite. You hit with great force. Arnung, you are spun back. You feel this debris, the stone and shards of wood cutting across your skin. Framling, you feel the explosive power of the Seventh Eye.
Mm.
And Jornaru stands in the blasted remains of the wall. He has blown out the front and side wall. He's taken out the door. The debris has thrown Arnung and Leaf to one side. The shield that you've experienced, that you've been there, it has come up in time, and it takes the brunt of this strike. A body shredded is visible flying through the air from this explosion of Jornaru's power. You can see immediately Arnung and Leaf are insensible by the strike of mortar and stone, unable to get out the way, uneven to know it was coming. They didn't stand a chance, and you saw Leaf smashed against the opposite corridor. Arnung is span. He's landed before you at the foot of the stairs. You can see he's cut from a dozen or more shallow cuts and debris, but both of them are reeling. Jornaru hasn't noticed you. Whatever caused him to go, poof, he's still looking, and you believe that what he did was directed potentially at this unidentified person that was flying throughout the debris. It clearly dead.
Right, and it was just a body going past. It wasn't necessarily anyone identifiable.
No.
Or had any identifiable. So he hasn't noticed me yet.
In the split second, as your heart goes boom, boom, time slows down, and he's just like that, and then you're aware, you know that he's about to turn. He's gonna sense you at that moment.
Right. Okay. And then, so it's the full headshot with everything I've got in that snap second of tortured anguish and power.
You strike him, but you see that it seems to power around him. You can see that he reels back. You see the skin around his face blacken and burn as he falls back, and then as he does so, he's already turning round, and you can see energy building up in both hands as he blindly strikes out. In that moment, you see Renyir is standing in the remains of that door. That part of the wall is still there. You can see Renyir is standing there, and Donaru is completely oblivious to him. He speaks as he turns. His hands are filling with energy, and you hear him speak in the dark tongue. You hear him speak the words of the void creatures that dwell, and you feel your body rack in pain. You can't help. You've never felt this pain ever. You can feel as if your body itself is just being hit with electrical charge. You can feel it rise up through your neck. Your arm and chest start to come together. Your teeth grind immediately as you take a step back. It bypasses your shield. Your shield has obviously protected you from objects flying towards you, but this bypasses that. It strikes you to your core. You feel injuries that you've never experienced before. You feel you're hurt.
Right.
Well, pulling out my grot, I was going to wrap it around his neck and just like twist it round and just hang off it.
Okay. You do so, acrobatically pivoting away. You use your own momentum as you bring the grot around, landing behind him and hold on, as you say, and try to pull him
dead weight
down across his neck. Arnung. Ears ringing. You see Framling before you suddenly going and rearing back in agony.
I leaped to my feet.
You stagger to your feet.
In my head, I leaped to my feet.
That's old age.
Yeah.
My
knees have gone.
so much easier. Okay, I get up. One way or another. I draw my swords, and again, one way or another, in my mind, I am lunging forward like a 300 Spartan. But if this is clearly not happening, then I don't know what, in reality, how this is playing out. But in my mind, that's what's happening.
Saturday night down a big market. Come on!
So you're like, you charge forward, both blades out.
I charge forward, both
Blows out.
both blades drawn, and I'm running to this figure, which I...
Okay, Leaf, you've slammed into the wall. You've felt nose, cheekbones broken. You can feel the wind punched from your lungs, and you can feel that you've been lacerated several times. You've hit the ground, and pure instinct, you've been hurt before. You've been in situations where your life hung by a thread, and pure instinct is what keeps you alive. That and many years of training. As you've literally taken the blow. The cuts off to the back. It's cut through your leather. These shards of stone have slashed through bits of meat and skin. Your face impacting on the wall is what's broken the nose and cheek. But you're still instinctive. As you do so, the door that you've hit, and you are literally partway down the floor, the door opposite you is being opened. You're aware that whatever's happened behind you is one thing, but you are also aware of a clear present danger about to present itself in the door that you've just slammed into.
I pivot on that one and spear whoever's opening the door before the door's fully open, preferably line shot.
Yep. Framling, as you've taken this strike, you don't know this power. This is new to you. There's no counter to this. You've never experienced this. Nothing in any of your many years of learning could prepare you for this. As something is breaking inside, you see the boy Renyir, above and beyond all you could expect of a 15-year-old burglar, to appear from the, just to suddenly, you saw him there and he just jumps to life. You could see he seems to have something in his hands that in this moment attaches itself around Jonaru's throat. You see him try to pull down. He's not strong enough, but he has got something against the creature's neck. It hasn't had a chance to react. Arnung, part blinded by his own blood, cuts, swords drawn, runs directly towards the creature. You know they are not a match for this thing in any form, but you also know you are hurt. As you start to recover, even knowing you haven't got a chance to get your full bearings, you know you have to act. You see Leaf in a part, badly hurt, again covered in blood and cuts, armour hanging from his back in strips. No way can he be aware of taking appraisal of the injuries. Instinctively, you see him part spinning, his spear coming up and thrusting forward, catching a robed acolyte deep in the chest.
Am I other than has the pain released me, or am I still in that?
You're in pain, but you can act. You're just aware that you're in pain, you're in trouble. But you can act. You've got clear mind.
Yeah. So did you got my message? Yeah.
Nope. Yes.
Which I. So that was going on during the attack.
Yep. But I mean,
right.
What we've got to remember is, though it takes me a while.
It's all truncated. Yeah.
It's
all happening at the same time. Yeah. That's what I mean.
Yep. So you're staggering back. It's all on your time. These guys are acting in and around you as you face off against Jornaru.
Right. So I'll start building the power. There's nothing else I can do other than. How far is Jornaru away from me?
He's about 10 feet.
Right. Okay. So if he's only 10 foot away from me, then I'm basically I'm running at him with but as I'm trying to do that, I'm trying to get my axe out of its I don't think I got it out, so it's out of its belt loop, and running it at the same time.
So quickly clear. You're running at him. In that moment, you make the decision to close the gap. Axe in one hand. And sorry, what was the belt loop?
Oh no, I was just taking the. I'm saying
right,
I'm taking the axe
out of the belt loop as you run. Understood. Okay, right. Arnung, sorry, right. So, as Renyir, you've wrapped a garrote around him.
Yeah.
You spin at this point. Initially you hit as you jump past him and pivot around. Your momentum takes you far. You come to the end of said garrote, and your death-like grip of fear holds strong, but you go and then you bounce against him. At which point, in that moment, you use that bounce to pivot and brace both legs against his back and wrench his head back. It works. Obviously, as it bites into the flesh, it doesn't feel like people you've done this to before. It is simply you're high up on him and you're putting all your strength unexpectedly in him, so his head's coming back. But unlike anybody else, his hands don't claw. He doesn't seem to be fighting for that. Arnung, you're closing that gap in that split moment. Both swords are drawn. You see him. He's coming back. His hands are still this glowing nimbus of power. Leaf, you spear the first man. You're aware that there's another behind. Are you pushing him back into the room to stop them getting into the corridor?
Yeah.
Obviously, as your spear penetrates this man, as he's falling back, are you trying to draw it out, or are you leaving it and drawing the Bactari blade and getting into close and personal?
Drawing the blade. Heading for vital. Right.
You step into the room, aware that there are multiple targets in here, but unable to count clearly in this moment. You leave the spear in the man, drawing the blade. You go into speed and start dropping and swirling, moving high, moving low, slashing across knees, across disembowel movements, strike to the throat. Each blow is a telling blow. Each blow is, if best, at worst a cripple, if best a killing blow if you can. All the while refusing to slow down. Such is the momentum of the attack, such is the surprise of the attack. It seems at this point that they're unable to understand what's going on. As you make that last moment's lunge on him, what are you looking to do?
I'm going to come going low, aiming to draw air, put both my swords, Bactari blades, in below his rib cage and into the chest, and to lift him off the ground. If preferably use my brute strength, because I can see Renyir on the back. His head's already pinned back, so the momentum's taking him back. So before he gets a chance to set himself, I'm gonna plunge both of my swords under his rib cage and up into his chest.
In that moment, as you've seen, as Renyir is standing almost straight out from this thing, pulling back, as you're coming in for that thrust, the ancient axe of Framling missing you by an ear, as if thrown by an Olympian, passes between head and arm as you're in full movement. You may never know if it was lucky or if it was perfectly shown, as this axe embeds slightly higher because of your shape and size of central mass. As it goes forward, obviously his hands are reached out, he's in the middle of doing something, and you thrust these blades up inside the ribcage. They pierce the robes, the meat and skin, penetrating deep into the body up to the hilt, and you ram. You want to use your body? Are you
I'm letting out a full-on barbarian-like scream, like the Northman that I am, and just lifting him off the ground to the hilt, and just using that and lifting him off the ground. Yeah.
As you slam into him, roaring with all the anger and fear of your years, all the pain you've endured, you literally do feel. Bye.
I don't need small fries.
It's alright. He's not there anyway.
He's like, dudes, I'm hacked. What? You only got one? I got 6. Right, where the hell are we? Drop you off.
Drop you. You're dead.
You're dead. Yeah.
You lift him up into the ceiling. Renyir, you do what you're doing, and you feel the wind crushed from you as you're slammed against the wall. He was close to the wall, as you're aware. You could just see Arnung appearing. Arnung is not a small thing, but then suddenly as he hits this guy and lifts him, you're on the back of him with your legs braced. You hit that wall, as which Framling, you feel in that moment as you're rising this guy up into the air, you feel something completely unexpected as a sandaled foot takes a step on your thigh, a hand on your shoulder, and Framling comes over the top of you, Arnung, his hands reaching out and grabbing this creature. Oh, don't need to be that scared, mate. It's only fiction.
The cat's found a scratchy toy.
Right. Mate, that's a laptop and a webcam. Right, this is not acceptable.
Cat's got an itch. Needs.
You feel that foot. You can't even react fast enough because you're holding this creature up by 2 blades through its abdomen. Framling uses you to purchase. He climbs over the top. The barbarian, the ancient warrior that is Framling, as he roars and his blue tattooed face passes you by, as his hands come over the top of you and grasp this thing by the head. You can see eyes are locked together. Are you shouting this out loud, or is this what you're seeing?
No, not out loud.
So he seems just...
It's all quiet.
He just seems to literally clamber over the top of you, so eager to stare at him. He grabs a hold of this thing, and you see him just look straight down. Their faces an inch from an inch, and the tendons are, you're literally like that, and Framling has come over the top of you and grabbed him and pulled him in close. You can see that the old man's rage dies as he closes the gap, climbing over you, so eager to attack this ancient enemy of his. You feel a burning, agonizing pain on him as his hands make contact with your body. You feel your skin blacken, and as you hold him, you start to scream as the pain goes from contact to agony. But you know you can't let go. You've got him pinned on these Vactari blades, and you can feel the meat and skin burn. Immediately the air is filled with a scent of burning flesh. Renyir, you're crushed. You're up against this wall. You're holding a garrote against this thing's neck. Arnung and Framling are now pushing it back against you. You can feel your ribs snap.
Oh.
Leaf, in the other room, as you're carving your way through, you start to slow. You become aware you're receiving slashes and returns. But so ferocious are you that as you start to fall amongst these bodies, you begin to pant. You collapse, coated from head to foot in the red sticky ichor of their blood loss. As they fall to the ground, some dead, some groaning, others trying to get back at you. You've realised that you've received several strikes. Several blades, daggers have found their mark. You fall to the floor amongst them. A mass of groaning, black-robed bodies. Even now, you're still unaware of how many, but you can't help but smile at the carnage you've wrought. Framling, as you make contact with his eyes, you feel the indomitable will of Jonaru. You feel the sheer power push back straight deep into your core. The pain that erupts throughout your sinuses, throughout your eyes, you feel it build up through the back of your head, and then Godric responds. There's a bright flash of light and the smell of burning ozone. Under the weight of the collapsing creature, under the sudden weight of Framling, under the weight of Renyir hanging off of him, the injuries cause your strength to give out on him. With a groan, you slump to the floor, still holding onto the blades, having twisted them. As a group, you slip to the floor. You slip to the side. Leaf, standing up, you've got a punctured lung. You've got a severe slash to the back of your leg, possibly covering tendons. You're in a lot of pain. You stagger, you're slipping, your hands matted in blood. You can barely grip your blade. You've got multiple cuts across your face, back and chest. You look to the devastation of the room, and what you see is Renyir holding on to the back of this thing, Arnung at the side of it, and Framling upon them, all of them lying in a heap. There is no sound. Yep.
Can I make me way over?
You can.
Right.
There's nothing to support yourself except with the blade.
Right. Okay.
You know, so you're using the blade. You turn it around, and you're bringing yourself over. Each pain is a shocking agony that courses its way through your leg. Each pain is a devastating, shredding sensation inside your chest. You get close. Framling is groaning. Smoke rises from him. Arnung is groaning. You can see he's badly burned. His left and right arms are blackened, mostly the left. The right is slightly, but the left is almost a blackened stump of raw meat. There is nothing moving from Renyir.
And this John arose on the floor.
Yep.
With his neck exposed.
Yeah.
That's where I'm hacking them.
You see also as you get close, his eyes are completely burnt out.
Right.
You can see the raw meat inside the eye sockets.
I'm trying to remove the head.
Are you taking a moment to separate your three friends so that you can get a good strike? Or are you just getting in close and...
No, I'm just getting in close to kind of like to work the head loose.
You stab down into the throat. It's cut. Cut. The head tears and comes free with a sickening pop as bone, tendon, vertebrae all sever. The head rolls to one side. At that point you realise that Nevin, his face is burnt. The skin is burnt.
Framling.
Framling! Not Nevin.
Not
Nevin's
me.
frozen.
Christ.
Nevin's camera
read-
comes back.
Render Aidan.
Framling, you can see, has suffered a similar injury as as this Jonaroos, this creature. His eyes. Are you still there, Nevin?
Yeah.
Right. You see
Yeah, I'm
his
still
eyes,
here. I'm just.
his eyes are burnt out. You see that the tattoos are no longer visible. His hair is pretty much gone across the top. His beard is scorched to tiny, shriveled embers. The skin is blackened, as if his eyes had suddenly set ablaze. He's in so much pain. You can see as he's rolling back. His tongue is burnt out. He's gurgling. The blood that should be coming out of him is almost coming out thick. Arnung is barely conscious but coming round. There's nothing you can do for these guys. They will live or they won't. There's no real aid for this. Renyir, on the other hand, isn't moving.
Right, I tried to pull Renyir from underneath then.
You drag him out, rolling Jonaru's body with it. To your horror, it seems, as you turn, that the head of Jonaru is attempting to speak. Or at least its mouth is opening and closing, and then it stops and turns into a sneering grin. Even with its eyes burned out, its head decapitated, the head seemingly mocks you from the ground.
I tried to split it in half.
With one arm, you've got no chance, so you leave Renyir to one side, return the blade to your hand, strike down. After 3 or 4 strikes, you cut the head in half. The mouth still seems to be stuck in that mocking smile, which, even blinded, you can't help but feel was directed at you. You feel the pressure that only a few hours back in the underwear. You feel the pressure building up once more. Arnung, you're in absolute agony, but you've become conscious. You are conscious. You immediately turn and see Framling. He's gurgling. He's trying to communicate. He's suffered horrendous injuries.
Crawl over to Framling as best as I can. Framling.
You
My
can't
old
see
friend.
Framling. You're in agony. You can't see. You hear Arnung. You feel his touch close by.
My friend. We did it. We did it.
Am I capable of doing anything, of responding to this?
You haven't lost your entire tongue. You can speak, but it is with great difficulty. They can understand you, but yeah, it's as if you've lost half of your tongue. It's been burnt back, but you are able.
Yeah.
It's and your throat is swollen. You've been scorched and burnt inside. So it's with great difficulty you're able to communicate.
I'll basically try to get across well done. And then I'm basically passing out.
Renyir is completely unconscious, or so it seems. Renyir, his head lolls to Framling's head lolls to one side. You're Arnung, you're awake simply because of the pain. Leaf, you bleeding profusely and heavily. The pressure builds quickly, and Maul once again stands amongst the devastation of the temple.
Do we see this, or
Yes,
just?
yeah, you do.
Oh,
Renyir, you wake up. Your eyes snap up. There's no pain. There's nothing. You're able to stand. You see Leaf and Arnung badly injured. You see Framling on the ground. Arnung is leaning over the top of him, ashen faced through pain and agony. I will give you a moment, Renyir. You made your choice for them. Be proud.
I'll walk over to Arnung, place my hand on his shoulder, and I'll say, I'll be heading before you. Fulfill your promise. And then I'll walk over to Mo.
You stand by him. You note that Arnung's hand was outreached for you, but you've gone too far. He looks. You walk over to Mo, and he places his hand on your shoulder. There is nothing to fear, Renyir. You've earned your place. He walks a couple of steps towards Framling and stops, looking at Leaf. Leaf, you will survive, but you will spend the rest of your time here alone. I accept your gift.
I'm
Be
sorry.
at peace. He looks towards you, Arnung. War is coming. You will be needed. Fulfill your promise in case I change my mind. He reaches down and you see him put his hand on Framling's shoulder, and as he stands you see a faded shape of Framling's stand, though his body is still lying scorched and burnt on the floor. Framling, you're immediately awash with unease. There is no pain, there is no fear, and you know the familial bond with your uncle. Your time in this realm is done, Framling. I am here to collect your soul, regardless of my brother's wishes. You have lived far beyond any natural means. I will give you a moment. He is a shade, there's a pale outline of Framling standing. But he's youthful, he's young to look upon, he's full of vigour. Not a 1100-year-old man. That's when you notice Renyir is also becoming faint. Do you have anything to say, Framling?
If it's my father's will, then I'll follow you. If it's not my father's will, then respectively, uncle, I shan't. If it's not my time, it's not my time.
So be it. Your father has no say in these matters. Long ago, well before the first of the Aesir walked these lands, he used the last of his bargaining power to take those from my realm, and you have always been mine. Renyir slowly sits upon the altar. You see his body become slack and he leans back. You see the darkness start to swirl around the god of the dead, and as it clears, Framling and Renyir are no longer there. Their bodies are lying on either side of his altar, and from the angle that you both are at, you can see that his actual statue seems to have his hands pointing directly at their bodies. In time, people come to know of what happened here. There is no way that the last 7 days would be able to pass into Midnheim's history while people such as Goebbels and Ehrlich still held power. As the years would go by and the centuries pass, the name of Leif would be lost in time. But during his lifetime and that of his children and grandchildren, he was known to bring peace to the city and its dark inhabitants. Of Arnung, there was no record. There was record of a large man, heavily scarred, his face cut in twain, who insisted that Goebbels and Ehrlich bury his two friends with greatest honour. But as the 6 months passed immediately after the devastation of the city, Framling's grave was disturbed, his body removed. Arnung, who rose to get the trust of Goebbels and Ehrlich, would march west to Karaborg. He would make them believe and understand who Framling was, who Ulmacor was, and what the Order of the Stag would be. The people in power, who would always hold their power of the Elector Princes of Middenheim, would now forever know of the sacrifice of the immortal, because the time of secrecy was past. When Ehrlich rode against Karaborg, it was not for personal gain. It was to bring justice to a corrupt god, to bring the Emperor to his knees. As the largest force, headed by hundreds of cutthroat veteran psychopaths, marched on Karaborg, Arnung was at the forefront. He entered the city, as so it is said. There was no Anton Sachs to be found. The last he was seen was running scared to the hills. But the Emperor was. He was found upon his throne with an ancient blade stuck through his chest. An ancient axe, stuck in his chest. Manfred Skavenslayer, who would go down as a hero of the Empire, but to those that marched on Karaborg would always, even though they become villains, would know the truth. As sun set on the winter of 1152, the last mists of the evening passing by from the river, ships tall with the banners of Marienburg flapping in the wind, cast a dim light and shadow upon an old jetty, an ancient jetty, long since been left to rot, and upon that jetty an old man, hair grey, heavily built, his face cut in twain by an ancient scar, kneeling upon the side of the river, holding a blade from the ancient times past. To those that witnessed it, they would go on to tell the last words that they heard from Arnung before he retired into the north.
I put the blade. I take the familiar blade and place it down on the jetty. I visualize my brother and his last breath. But this time it's different. The pain is no longer there. The pain that he carried for so many years. That burden carried. He has a sense of ease, a sense of fulfillment. A promise made long ago to someone very dear to him. I look off into the distance, over the horizon, into the horizon. I made a promise to you long ago that one day we wouldn't be remembered just as orphans, but as rulers of kings. Today I stand here proud, my brother, as my promise fulfilled. This was for you. We now rule. We are kings. See you soon, my brother. I'll be coming.